Holy shit, you guys.
Man,
I was talking, and then Tom's like, I think this shit shut off like a long time ago.
Yeah, because I went out of the show and tried to go back in and says, where's their live stream? And we did like fucking 15 minutes of show.
And there was a bunch of funny shit in there too. And then I was like, go look at part 2 and see where we ended up. And I was like, oh my god, that was like fucking 15 minutes ago.
We don't know what the fuck is happening.
Holy shit.
You guys lost like 15 minutes of pretty good show.
Well, I'm going to have to go start over. We're going to have to, like, pretend that we didn't even do that shit.
You're going to have to fix all this shit.
Yeah, we're going to go back and, like, fucking... Man, it cut off when we were talking about pumpkin spice. That was, like, ages ago.
Long time ago, yeah.
Man, I talked about all kind of shit with that. Like, god damn it.
Might as well back up.
This is making me so mad.
Yeah. Look, I told him I was almost all the crowd. We got, like, 6 people.
I told him I was like, this makes me so angry because we don't usually have this much of a problem.
Yeah.
And... I always kind of feel like, look, we go off on a lot of tangents. That's just, it happens. You know, I get annoyed, but whatever. And it's just kind of like, so I'm like, maybe like a third of the way through. And I'm like, man, I have so much like shit left to talk about.
Yeah.
And the more that it like cuts off, the angrier I get. And like the angrier I get, and the more I have to wait, like the more I'm going to drink. Yeah. Because I'm pissed off and I'm waiting and I hate waiting for stuff because I'm really impatient.
They're all sympathetic, the other guys.
And then I'm just kind of like, then by the time I get to the end of it, I'm just going to be slurring everything and it's not going to make any sense.
And I'm going to have to shut the fuck up so she can, because I'm getting loaded. Part of the show is us fighting to get through the show once we get like a couple hours into it because of all the fucking alcohol we drink.
But I don't know. I kind of think about it the next day. I'm like, should we even be drinking on the show? Because maybe. But then I'm like, well, no, because that's kind of like the fun of it.
Then like half of the people are like, why aren't you guys drinking on the show?
It's like, I always kind of feel like it's difficult and I get frustrated. But then I'm like, yeah, but it's kind of more fun, though. This is not a
university program.
It's kind of more fun, though.
This is an entertainment.
Because I like that it goes in like all of these unexpected directions. Yeah. That's kind of fun. Even though it does annoy me sometimes.
It's educational.
Even though. We need a way to let you guys know the stream for... Oh, it went red again.
Oh, it's going fucking red again.
God damn it. Don't you do it.
Cutting off and very abrupt. There, it's back. It's back. It's trying to come back. It's back.
I mean, I don't know why we're having so much trouble. We don't usually have this much trouble. God, I have so much fucking left to talk about. And it's like, now I'm scared to like, talk about it.
If this shit fucking cuts off and we don't come back...
We just got sick of it? We just got sick of it?
Yeah, no, it's just because fucking look at that stream. Look how bad that's getting.
Maybe they are doing like maintenance. Although I thought it was like the middle of the night that they were gonna do it. Now I'm like afraid to talk because it's like I'm sure it's not gonna like fucking.
It's back to green. Yeah, shit. I think they're doing maintenance on this thing tonight.
Murder Hornet says, Tom, send me that cookbook.
All right, I'll send you one.
Let me know. I gotta like fucking order.
Yeah.
Y'all were up to like Law and Order.
Okay, it's green.
Okay, should we
we'll
like?
See how it goes.
So let's like.
We're gonna try to finish the show, people.
I mean, man, I was like talking about like yogurt in people's butts and everything.
Yeah. He was telling people to eat a certain amount of yogurt and put the other half up in your ass. Okay. Which that's like some fetish shit. You know what I mean? They got whole fucking websites on fucking X videos and fucking that do that shit. Fucking.
Well, yeah, that's a whole niche, I'm sure.
Yeah, this is my girlfriend. She's gonna eat this. And we'll put this up in her ass. They got that. They got shit like that. And what might have been one of them.
What I was saying, and I'm sure this got cut off. What I was saying that it's like, and I said, well, it's not crazy. And Tom's like, yeah, it is crazy. Well, I'm like, yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
But I understand where he was coming from. His whole thing was that yogurt had, intestinal flora that was like, it was replacing your good gut bacteria, which is true. So he advocated you have a pint of yogurt every day, you eat half of that pint, and then the other half of the pint goes, guess where? Up your butt.
Yes, it's just crazy.
He was getting it from both ends.
It's still crazy.
It's still crazy.
Yeah.
But I understand it's still crazy. Don't get me wrong. But I understand where he got the idea from. It does kind of make sense if you look at it sort of cockeyed.
Another thing is that physicians from this era would tell you to do some shit like this, and they would promote this as if it will make you live like 20 or 30 years longer, or that, you know what I mean, that it was like a really big deal. There'd be a big difference. Oh shit! Look at this stream. Okay.
Well, I will say, in his defense, Dr. Kellogg lived till he was 91.
Yeah, but still, the average person wouldn't notice much.
No problem.
From what they were doing there. I mean, yeah, there'd be an improvement with the diet of that age, but it wouldn't be much better than the diet the average person who's listening would have today. It wouldn't be much different.
Well, and genetics plays a part too.
Yeah.
Like, some people can eat crap their whole lives and will just live a long time just because they're lucky. Some people can eat healthy their whole life. Sometimes you just get, you know, it's statistical. Obviously, you should live as healthy as reasonable. You know, don't overdo it though. Have some fun, but genetics does play a part too.
Oh yeah, well, some people are gonna die no matter what.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Fucked up genes, you know, you live fucking 2 hours after birth because you got 4 heads. You know
That's what I mean, and you know, and we've known, you know, we had a friend that died.
Yeah, this stream is.
God, this is this is so frustrating.
Oh man, we're getting red lights, people. We're gonna lose this.
So frustrating.
The chances of us being able to finish this fucking show is going away, Jen.
And it sucks because it's like, man, I fucking spent so much time doing notes and stuff like that.
Okay, it's back to green.
It just that's what makes me angry, is that I spent so much time and then every time it's like fucking distracting. Every time I see the red, it's like I get fucking distracted, and it's like, you know what I mean. Rebecca says, just go for it, guys. If you get cut off, we'll get over it.
We could always just fucking trash this fucking show and fucking do it again.
Well, I'm gonna try to not do that.
Or do a part 2 on another week or something.
Well, we're already on part 3 because this fucking shit's fucked up. Camp Guy says it's already been processed and extracted by the time it gets all the way down to your large bowel. No need to put it up your rear end.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just eat it. Yogurt's good. You don't have to You don't have to shoot it up your butt.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're into that. If you're in, I'm not judging. I'm just saying.
Yeah. It won't make a huge difference though.
But don't do it for health reasons. Just do it because you like it. You know what I mean? Yeah, so did we talk? Okay, so his whole thing was biologic living. Like I said, there was a very Seventh-Day Adventist thing. They were very, my body is a temple. You have to, like, treat it like, you know, like a temple, as you do. So, again, that was one of the things that made them want to do, like, bland foods and stuff. Because, as I said, if anything was, like, too spicy or sugary or whatever, then it would make you want to have sex, and that was, like, bad. So that was something. Now, this is something that I talked about extensively, but I guess it got cut off, was that, and I don't think you were here, so you might find this interesting anyway, but Dr. Kellogg was actually quite ahead of his time in advocating nuts as, like, not those nuts, but, you know, let's not be 12-year-old boys here, as a meat substitute. He is generally credited as being one of the people that maybe developed, like, some kind of innovation in the peanut butter area. I don't think he invented peanut butter, but he was one of the people that was in there for that. And he was kind of, like, advocated a lot of, like, nut butters. You know what I mean? Like, making a lot of things out of nuts. And he also made some stuff called it was called Nutos or Nuttaline or something like that. Nuttaline. And that was actually supposed to be a meat substitute. Like, you used it the way you would use meat. Like, you would season it the way you would season meat and use it, you know.
It was a cream?
Well, it was kind of like a crunched up pate type situation. Okay. Yeah. So he was kind of like one of the first person to advocate using nuts as a meat substitute, like a protein substitute. Yeah. Which, like I said, very ahead of its time, because nowadays people take that for granted. But back then, that would have been kind of weird. But he was kind of on the
Let's be honest, though, people.
Cusp.
Do you need to substitute your meat with peanuts? No. Would it be okay to suck with peanut? Yeah, sure.
Nuts are actually quite good for you, and I love nuts, man.
In general, variety is always good for the human body. Variety of fucking food intake, you know what I mean? Yeah. You don't want to be stuck on one thing. In the 1800s, man, they didn't have much variety, so any variety would have been an improvement. So he is onto something. Yeah. Change up your fucking diet.
Yeah, like I said, he was more like, weirdly, he seemed like more low protein guy, but he was very into like your bowels, cleaning your bowels
You
out.
gotta get into my bowels.
So he's dead now, so I don't think he's gonna get it. I'm not like that.
I like it.
He was very into like grains and vegetables, which is good. Like I said, that's good. And he did seem to have a plan for meat substitution because they didn't like prohibit eating meat. They just discouraged it. They discouraged more like vegetarian. But that's why he was kind of more into like advocating nuts as a meat substitute.
All right, let me give this guy some modern knowledge. They called it the fucking keto diet, ketogenic diet, which is nothing but just fucking red meat. A lot of bodybuilders have tried it. They'll fucking do shows on it on fucking YouTube and everything. Yeah, you'll lose some fat, lose a little bit of weight. You can gain some lean muscle mass. They feel like shit on it. Your bowel movements are like you're crapping out grease. All right.
Gross.
It's not good for your fucking your lipids in your bloodstream. And a lot of these people in the 1800s were almost on a diet like that. It wasn't a varied diet, meat and some bread. So they would have been kind of in a similar condition. So he's on to something. What he's talking about is a varied diet. You should have a varied diet.
Yeah.
Human beings are omnivores, like dogs and pigs or whatever. You should be eating a mixture of stuff. Protein and fucking vegetables and fucking, starches and sugars, and you should have a bit of everything. The problem is when you start going to this narrow band thing when you're fixated on one thing. Like, well, I'm just going to eat nothing but damn meat. No, that's not good. I'm going to eat nothing but just fucking green vegetables. No, that's not good either. You're meant to eat a variety of stuff.
Yeah, eat a bunch of different things.
Eat a bunch of stuff, yeah.
Eat a bunch of different things.
Yeah, and depending on what you're trying to do, like a guy like me, you're going to be heavy on meat, but you want fucking vegetables and shit too. It's all... and protein. You want a lot of protein. So, he's onto something. He's not bullshitting. He sees the problem.
Yeah.
It's just he's seeing it from the viewpoint of a man of the 1800s.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, from our point of view, some of the stuff actually did seem quite ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff was crazy. But, and we'll get into like some more crazy shit
Well, it's
later.
experimental.
Yeah, because like I said, this was odd back now.
Right.
I mean, now everybody kind of takes it for granted. Well, obviously, we should eat a varied diet. You should eat more vegetables. You should eat more fiber. You should do that. But back then, it wasn't really common knowledge.
It wasn't about diet. Knowledge. They knew nothing about exercise.
So it was weird.
Right.
It was weird. It was still kind of like a fringe type of thing.
No diet that you're trying to survive on should be extreme. Extremes are not found in nature, and you are a product of nature. Humans ate everything. They ate everything.
Yeah, that's why these kind of like diets that are always kind of like, we'll never eat this or never eat that. I'm like, that's not gonna work out for you. That's not gonna work out. Nope. Honestly, just eat a lot of things, just not a lot of it. Just eat like moderation.
And you keep your activity high. High and constant. Weightlifting is always better than cardio, but cardio is good. It should be a mixture. It's you guys know what I'm talking about. But back in those days, they didn't even know the difference between cardio and fucking anabolic and aerobic exercise. They didn't even know what that was.
Yeah, I kind of feel like, I mean, if you're working class, you're probably just so fucking tired from working 7 days a week in a fucking factory that you didn't even like think about it.
And what they were doing.
And then if you were upper class, you just sat around and read and like maybe walked around and ate and got fat and got gout.
Right.
So.
And they didn't know the difference between anabolic and aerobic exercise. They mostly did aerobic exercise, which is just repetition, moving something on a damn machine or picking things up. And you could do that all day long and not gain any muscle mass. Just won't happen. Arnold Schwarzenegger will tell you that. He and his buddy, fucking from Sardinia, what was his name? Fucking little what's his name? He was another little champion. They would sit there and make fucking brick walls all fucking day, and that was nothing for them. They would get smaller doing that. And then you go to the gym and fucking lift 500 pounds 2 or 3 times, and there you go. Because it's concentrated. You'll build a muscle on that. But not laying bricks. And that's what these skinny little motherfuckers did. Laid bricks and fucking...
Well, like I said,
Yeah.
This was before they actually had like the concept of weekends and stuff like that. So it's like they just worked like 12 hours a day.
Worked themselves down
6 or 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And so they were too tired when they got home to like exercise.
And they did it on a shitty diet.
Or anything. Yeah. And they ate shitty food also. Yeah. So, you know, you can't really blame them for not being super in shape. They didn't really have that luxury.
No, and their growth was stunted by the time they were 8.
Well,
little bitty shoulders and shit.
That too.
Yeah.
You know, because your childhood nutrition does play a large part.
Very, very low protein intake in the early formative years. They fucking fucked their skeletons up. They were little. If you look at the doorways and the way they made things, even up into the 50s, they were kind of small.
Well, like I said, there's not. I mean, once you grow into adulthood, there's not really a lot that you can do to alter that. Yeah. I mean, you can, but not. You know.
Yeah.
Not a lot. A lot of shit happens in childhood that you can't alter later. TB Drigger says, so I just realized today, the Voltaire you guys have talked about is Lair Voltaire. Yeah, that's right. He has a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
It seems like the world got a little smaller, LOL. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm friends with her ex. We grew up
I actually didn't know until recently that he had a YouTube channel called Lair Voltaire, and I started watching it. I'm like, this is delightful.
Oh, is it good? I haven't seen it yet.
He has like a tiny, he has a house in Mexico City, and he has a tiny New York apartment. And he has some stuff, like he does a little live stream, like every month or something. And then he does like decorating shit, like around his little tiny apartment. And it's delightful.
Yeah.
He seems like a delightful person. And, you know, it's cool, like, how you can goth your shit out. I think his apartment is maybe 500 square feet or something. Yeah. But he has, like, a lot of good ideas for how to, like, make things and shit like that. So, like, DIY and stuff. And he, like I said, he seems like a nice dude.
Yeah, Voltaire's ex-wife is a good buddy of mine from Boston. Fucking Tanya. Fucking, and she was cool, too. Crazy. Fucking crazy. And then I've met Voltaire once. We talked about Tanya.
He came to Ibar once, yeah. Well, he's been to Ibar a couple times.
Right.
But
he's been around forever. He seems to be a good dude. You know.
I first became aware of his music in the 90s.
Yeah.
He's like goth but funny.
Yeah.
He's a really, really good lyricist.
Yeah.
Like, his lyrics are very, very funny.
Yeah. And he's Jewish too, so our Jewish listeners will fucking probably enjoy him because he makes fun of the fact that he's fucking Jewish and Gothic. Fucking.
Well, like I said, just from watching his videos, our age.
He's our age. He'll do fucking Gothic music with fucking Jewish fucking music, fucking Yiddish fucking violins going.
Yeah.
It's fucking funny.
I like that though.
Yeah.
But
like
I mean,
on the roof and shit.
He just seems like a nice dude.
Yeah.
I don't know him, but like I've maybe said hi to him one time. Like
Tanya
he was at
talks
Ibar.
shit about him, but your ex-wife always talks shit about you. So
well, that's just that comes with
that
comes with the territory. That comes with the territory.
Yeah, it's just the same shit. You know, I mean, like, yeah, okay. So he's a dude, okay. You know how.
Yeah, you all kind of suck to greater or lesser degrees.
Well, your ex-wives always say the same thing. Okay.
Which is what?
I ain't gonna fucking mention it. I don't want.
We're at 0.
Where is it?
It went red again. I'm not gonna say anything until they go green again. Come on, you can do it.
Here it is, back green again.
Oh, and that
I don't know where it was at. You guys can remind me where I left off. I got cut off somewhere. It probably doesn't matter.
It probably doesn't.
Nah.
Well, yeah, we were talking about Voltaire.
Yeah.
Because somebody talked about that. And you were talking about how your ex-wife always says shit about you.
Yeah, your ex-wives always say the same things about the ex-husbands, always.
Which is what? I'm curious.
Oh, that motherfucker cheats, or that motherfucker's always doing this and he can't keep it in his pants, or that motherfucker lies, or it's always the same shit.
I didn't say that about my ex because that wasn't true.
That's true. That's true.
But there were,
that's the common one, though, is motherfucker.
Yeah, but is it true, though? If it's true, then there's no reason why people shouldn't say that.
There's no way of knowing.
Well, there is a way of knowing. I mean, there is an objective truth out there to be discovered. Maybe he did fuck around.
I don't know.
In which case, she has a legitimate grievance.
Well, you have to know.
I didn't say that about my ex because I don't think that happened. But there
You're
were.
gonna get me in trouble, and I'm not gonna
I'm not.
say anything.
But I'm just saying that that's not like a universal.
Look. I know Tanya very well. Okay, some of the shit that she says, I take with a grain of salt. I just know her real well. Okay. For all I know, she was cheating. You know what I mean? You don't know.
Well, I'm not. I don't have a dog in that fight.
Right. But you're
I don't know
trying to
her.
Get me to comment. You're trying to get me to comment.
No, I'm just asking. No, I was asking for you to, not necessarily what her beef was, but just like what the general beef was, because you said that
I
was.
did give you the general beef.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's not a general beef.
No.
That's just because I didn't have that beef about my ex because I don't think that was true.
Say that motherfucker's an asshole. He's fucking cheating, or he's doing this and that, and you never really can tell what's true. You always try to. You project a lot. You think the average woman is like you, and there's nothing average about you. Nothing.
Well, thank you.
If you were average,
that.
I wouldn't be with you. Fucking no. There's nothing average or normal about you.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
No, it's good because the average woman's very superficial. Very.
He sounded very deep. Well, no, that's good.
Yeah.
I guess.
The average woman's very superficial. Fucking.
They're
catty,
not
normal. Okay, no. You've seen me with average women and you hated them.
Better than this? You're better than
They were cute though.
Well, yeah, that's what you always said.
That's all that mattered at the time. But no, that's the average. Now you understand?
Well, no.
That's the average.
Don't condescend to me.
No, I'm not condescending.
I understand.
I'm just trying to give you the baseline. That was.
No, I know that.
You.
It's just that.
See, Jenny knows who I was dating before me and Jenny were a couple, and she would just be like, fucking. She just was like.
I was like, really?
Appalled.
Is that the best you can do?
She's just appalled. But the thing is, though, it's like that's average. That was. And
he's like, yeah, but she's cute.
Yeah, well, she wasn't physically average, but personality-wise, that's the average woman.
Yeah.
They're like that. That's the way they are.
And that's all dudes care about, ladies.
No. see how she's doing. See how she does it.
I thought that's
guys understand what I'm talking about. There's a baseline that is kind of tolerable, and that was real close to the fucking tolerable baseline. That's the way most of them are. So guys just kind of develop around that. We're like, yeah, okay, I can run with that for now. And then when I get sick of that, I'll replace it with another one. That's really is what's going on. It's like a machine. It's like a system, especially when you're younger.
Well,
like
yeah, but you say that like women haven't figured that out by the time they're like 10 years old.
They're the ones that you hated in school. That's the average.
I know that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I figured that out when I was in junior high school.
When I say these things that you get offended about, I don't know why you get offended because it's the same
I'm not offended. It's just
ones that you're like,
I'm offended. I'm offended that you think that I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
You talk to me like I don't understand.
That was the reaction I got out of you. You're like, oh,
well, I thought you were better than that.
No,
that's all. But you're not.
No, I was trying to get laid at that time. I was trying to get laid. What are you talking about? I was trying to get laid.
I mean, girls try to get laid,
I was
too.
just trying to get laid. You're reading into it. I was trying to get laid. You know? That's all it was. I was getting laid. I wasn't trying. I was getting laid.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Cheryl says Gothic homemaking is the shit. Honestly, my favorite thing about his channel is, I mean, I like when he goes to all the different, like, goth bars and shit like that in different places. He did, like, a whole thing of, like, Mexico City. He did a whole thing where he went to different monster-themed bars, like, a world, which I thought was cool. But honestly, my favorite thing is when he makes things to go in his tiny, tiny, tiny-ass apartment. Because I don't know. I'm fascinated by people's, like, storage solutions when they're in a very, very small space. How they can goth that shit out. I'm really into that. I like that. He just put up a one of his live streams. I think it's like 2.5 hours long, and he just put it up a couple days ago. I put it in my watch later, but I haven't watched it yet. So you know. Cheryl says, "Oh wait, it went red." No, come on, Cheryl. Jenny's the best. I am, aren't I? I don't.
Isn't it Voltaire's Cuban too, right?
He is, yeah.
Yeah.
He is, yeah.
He's probably from here, isn't he?
I I think not.
We've seen him here, so I think he's from here.
Well, he hangs out here because he has played shows here.
Okay. So the Cuban connection has nothing to do with Florida.
I don't know if he's from here. He lives in New York City.
Yeah, everybody from New York, that doesn't matter, though. He's probably from
No,
here.
he has an apartment in New York City. I don't know if he was born here. I don't think so.
Good.
But his fiance is Japanese, but I think she lived in Mexico City. And I think they have a house in Mexico City as well.
Yeah.
Because they do a lot of videos down there as well. But, yeah, he's delightful. So, Lara Voltaire, if you are not onto that. And his music is delightful as well. So, you should probably check it out. It's very, very funny. So, let's see. Where was I?
I may have a couple pictures of Voltaire's fucking ex. We'll see. Back when I hang out with her. Let's see if I have any of her. No, I don't. I used to. Me and her back in the day.
All right. So, I think I talked about this. What the fuck is going on? What is going on? When is the last time we've had this much?
Crazy.
When is the last time we've had this much fucking trouble?
Terrible.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is making me very, very upset. All right, so while it's green, now I'm gonna have to hurry up and get through this fucking shit. Which is hard because, like I said, I'm getting mad, so I'm drinking more.
Don't get mad.
So it's
Don't get mad.
easy for you to say.
No, I'm just saying.
You didn't spend hours and hours researching.
We can
all
always
this
do it
shit.
again. We can always do it again.
I don't want to do that though.
Okay.
This is I don't want to do fucking 4 parts. Come on, I gotta
All right.
edit this shit together later.
Okay.
So the sanitarium, like I said, massive fucking place. So it had an experimental kitchen, right? So Ella, who I think was Dr. Kellogg's wife, she had a cooking school at the place. And she taught classes and had him up publishing a cookbook, which is called Science in the Kitchen. And she had all these kind of vegetarian recipes, all this kind of shit in there. And I think I brought this up earlier, but I don't know if it got cut off or not. And there it goes. I don't know if it got cut off or not. But they developed this thing called Nuttolene, which it's made from peanuts, and it was a meat substitute. And they also had something called protos, which was kind of grains, nuts, mixed together. Also a meat substitute. And, developed various kind of nut butters. So as I mentioned earlier, Dr. Kellogg was a big advocate of, and it's 0 again. This is making me so angry. So he was a big advocate of most diseases are caused by some fucking weird intestinal flora in your intestines. So a lot of his recipes were meant to alleviate that. We mentioned earlier that he was a big advocate of eating half your yogurt and shooting half your yogurt up your butt because it had some good bacteria in there that were supposed to clean out your intestines. He was a big advocate of that. He's a big advocate of enemas in general, not just yogurt. He actually invented Enema Machines. So at the spa there, the Battle Creek Sanitarium, I believe they had a whole entire room of Enema Machines. I think that he patented a machine that would shoot X amount of water or yogurt or whatever, water, yogurt, coffee, whatever you wanted to shoot up there. It would shoot it up your butt, and it kept track of how much stuff was going up your butt. He was really into having a really clean bowel is what I'm saying. Like I said, not crazy, but a little weird thing to have an obsession about. Little weird thing. I don't know. I'm of two minds about it. It is good in some ways. Just have all that shit moving through there, but it's weird to be obsessed about it though. Yeah. It's a fine line.
No, I got you.
It's a fine line. You're at massive fucking plate, yeah. So, So like I said, his thing, the only thing I feel like well, not the only thing, but one of the only things, like, diet-wise, he was more of an advocate of low-protein diets. He wanted high-fiber diets, and stuff that would, like, have a laxative effect. Which is weird because I feel like he wasn't really into, like, caffeinated drinks like coffee and stuff, even though coffee is, like, a big laxative. So you'd think that he'd want you to drink, like, gallons and gallons of coffee. That'll clean you right out. Just saying. Yeah, so yogurt up your butt. Here's the quote about it. He says, like I said, pint of yogurt a day. Half of it you eat, half of it you shoot up your butt. The quote is, thus planting the protective germs where they are most needed and may render most effective service.
Protected germs.
That's a nice way to put it. Effective service. It'll make you poop more. So, you know. Want you to, like, clean out your bowels. I can't get past that. Okay. Also, everybody that would stay there at this place, you'd have breathing exercises. Like I said, not that weird. You know, probably weird watching people do it, but not weird in the aggregate. They do, like, little marches around and stuff. He was also real into phototherapy, or, like, light therapy. Which, like I said, sounds kind of weird and new agey, but, again, not that weird, because some people have, like, seasonal depression caused by darkness, blah, blah, blah. And they do actually, like, advocate putting them over, like, sunlight or artificial sunlight. And that does improve their mood, or, like, seems to. So that's strange from our point of view. Probably back then, they probably thought it was, like, wacky and stuff, but not all that weird. But he was, like, really into, like, light therapy as well. Now, so again, I think I mentioned earlier that he had actually been to medical school, so he wasn't a quack. He was actually a doctor. He actually was a surgeon.
Crazy.
It's making me so mad. Come on. Okay. Where was I? Now, let's get into the masturbation, because...
Get into the masturbation.
Well, I thought the light just went green, so I thought that that'd be good if people were just, like, coming back on after the fucking, you know, after we were having problems.
That's funny.
Okay, so Dr. Kellogg, I will say, even though he was a surgeon and he did do surgeries, he was kind of like, look, I don't really like to do surgeries if people don't need them, which, you know, that seems like a pretty reasonable, you know, stance to take. But, like many other Seventh-Day Adventists, not a big fan of sex in general. Really not a big fan of masturbation. And so anytime you could...
That's fucking funny.
Anytime you could break... You know he was probably, like, fucking jerking it 24/7.
Yeah,
which is, like, maybe
projected.
why...
That bitch projected.
I kind of feel like maybe. I don't know. I don't want to cast aspersions. The dude's dead now. Maybe he was the very rare exception that wasn't like that. But in my experience, the more that people, like, rail about something, the more they're doing that shit. About other people masturbating, which again doesn't have anything to do with you.
There's a fucking issue there, man.
Then maybe that's your problem.
Yeah, I think
and
so.
maybe not other people. I'm not saying that's the case here. I'm just saying maybe. So he was, like, not really into well, okay. So he had a problem with masturbation because he thought that like sexual anything was, I don't know, depleting your life force or something like that. Masturbation in particular, he called it something like, and I'm paraphrasing, killing yourself by your own hand. That's what he called it.
You're removing your own life essence.
I kind of feel like that's how he felt about it.
Damn, crazy.
Which wasn't a crazy point of view at the time. He wasn't the only one that thought that.
Doesn't know much about biology.
Well, no. But, you know, I'm just saying that he wasn't the only motherfucker that was saying shit like that. I do kind of feel like there was, like, a small, I don't think it was mainstream or anything, but there was, like, a substantial minority of people, let's call it that thought that jerking it was some kind of like, not only was that physically affecting your health, but that was like pointing toward your moral degeneracy also. Like it was kind of like, you know what I mean? And I feel like he kind of had that as well. So which if he just had that point of view, fine. But the thing that he did advocate though is that if little boys were too into, again, jerking it, which he called local uncleanliness.
Local uncleanliness. What was it local to? Oh shit, we're fucking...
I'm just like, not talking when it's red, because why bother?
Yeah,
okay.
it's green.
Okay, so he thinks that local uncleanliness is leading, which is gonna
like not wiping your ass or something. That's that local uncleanliness underneath.
Yeah, in your butthole area.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Crazy. Motherfuckers are nuts, man. Victorious.
Well, like I said,
man, shit's going red.
Man, we're like getting in the flow and we're funny, and it's like kind of fucking okay. So the fact that he thought that, okay, it would be fine if you just thought that. Everyone would think you were nuts and no one wanted to hang out with you or invite you to parties or anything, but fine. But problem is, you have thoughts like this and they lead you to actually do things, which is where the problem arises. Because he actually advocated circumcision for both males and females for too much masturbation as little children. So cutting off...
So they're talking about clitorectomy.
Yes.
Oh, man, that motherfucker's badass.
Also a big advocate of little boys, little girls jerking it too much, or, doing whatever you do. Strapping you to the bed, cutting off various parts. So,
You're fucking crazy.
Not a fan of that. Not a fan of that. That's not cool. So, are we
That's
agreeing
some Middle
again?
Eastern shit there.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, like I said, good ideas in the form of, hey, let's eat more vegetables and not as much meat, or meat substitutes. He also, later on, I will say, in case he was actually instrumental in doing like soy milk. I think he patented the first soy milk, actually, back in fucking the early 20th century. Big advocate of like nut butters, meat substitutes, all kind of like soy things, which, like I said, very, very much ahead of his time. So, like I said, cool. Had a lot of patents in like medical type stuff, not all of which were crazy, although some of them were. But yeah, big into, like I said, he wasn't really into circumcision as just like, oh, let's circumcise everybody. He was into circumcision, male and female, if you were masturbating too much. He was like, that was, which, like I said, I can't advocate that, sorry. That's pretty fucked up. So as I said, a lot of celebrities went to this place, and it's going red again. Come on. This is so frustrating.
Terrible.
It's so frustrating. Yeah, like fucking the curse of Kellogg is upon the street. Yeah, he's like fucking haunting this shit.
I'm gonna shut my shit down just totally. Although I don't think it's that. It seems unrelated.
We don't usually have this problem.
Yeah, it's just it's the service. It's back. Well,
no, it's not.
Clip the clip. Back. There it is back.
Yeah.
It's the service.
I guess. I don't know what they're doing, but yeah. So they did have a lot of celebrities come there. Now, let's talk a little bit about, before we get cut off again. So let's talk a little bit about cornflakes. Now, like I mentioned earlier, John Harvey Kellogg, he was very into like vegetarian foods. And as I mentioned at the time, there wasn't really any kind of dedicated breakfast food. You basically just ate whatever like shit was left over from the night before, usually meat. You just reheated it in whatever fat you had left over, and then you just ate that for breakfast. Then you went off to the factory or the coal mine or whatever the fuck. So Kellogg was trying to establish a bland, easy to prepare because grains were very difficult to prepare back in those days. So something that was easy to prepare, something that he perceived as healthy, something he perceived as bland tasting because it wouldn't make you want to like touch yourself. So there was that.
Yeah. Food that doesn't make you want to jerk off.
What? I'm not even making that up. I'm not making that up. That was one of the things. That was one of the things.
Reminds me of the shit that Chinese believe, that drinking and eating certain things make you hot or cold. I don't really understand that either.
Honestly,
I've never...
one thing that I laughed at
Yeah.
when I was researching this show, Dr. Kellogg actually thought, like, people that were... he could recognize, allegedly, people that were chronic masturbators. Mm-hmm. Weighted zero again. He could recognize people that were chronic masturbators because they liked spicy foods.
Yeah.
And had round shoulders.
Oh shit! So all of India and people that didn't work out.
And I was like, dude, I'm in trouble.
Yeah. Fix it up.
I mean, true, but okay. But yeah, so so there's that.
Motherfucker doesn't know what he's talking about. He's making shit up.
Of course not. But like I said, everyone's a little bit of good and a little bit of bad. This dude had some crazy ideas. He had some good ideas too. Now, so he was really into, like I said, vegetarian diet, very bland food because he thought that would not excite people's like sexual, feelings or anything like that. So he starts in 1877. He starts fucking around with something. He wants something that's like a breakfast food, but is kind of bland, but like a little bit softer. He wanted something that was like easy to chew because he was big into this dude named Horace Fletcher, he had the idea, this is not true, back then, that you should chew your food 40 times before swallowing it because it broke it down easier, I guess. And it made job easier for your stomach. I don't know. So, but Kellogg was on board with that. So he's like, okay, I'm down with that. They even had like a little chewing song, chew everything 40 times, chew, chew, chew. That's the thing to do. They had a little fucking rhyme about it and everything. So what he did in this endeavor, because he wanted something that was easy to eat, very easy to prepare in the morning. So he comes up with this dough, and it's like wheat, oats, and they baked it at very high temperatures for a long time, which they thought would break down the starch molecules in the grain. Then after it was broken apart, Kellogg would break it into crumbs. Now, this cereal, which was just like, the crumbs of the baked, wheat, oats, and corn mixture, he originally called it granola. Now, there was another competing company, a guy named James Caleb Jackson. He had a wheat cereal that he already called granola. So he's like, bitch, you can't call it that. So at that point, Kellogg's like, okay, well, I'm going to call it granola.
There you go.
Now, isn't it funny that he wasn't the first one to come up with it. This other motherfucker did. Or granola, it's all about branding.
Yeah.
That's just how that goes. So, hate to tell you. But yeah, so he called it granola. So he started like selling it under that name. Now, he just...
Oh shit, went red.
God damn it. This is really pissing me off.
Should we end this show?
No, because I'm not done. I still have like so much fucking shit I gotta do.
Yeah, but we'll be able to get through it. Okay, it's green. Now... I don't know if it stopped or not.
No, it hasn't stopped.
It hasn't stopped? Okay, so they can still
No,
hear
I'm
us?
still... Well, okay.
Okay, it's green. All right, it's good.
I mean, usually when it goes red, I just...
Right. But we don't really know.
But I don't really know. It's
Right.
whatever.
Okay.
Whatever. So yeah, granola. Now, at this point, it's 1890. They started selling granola to the patients at the Battle Creek Sanitarium at first. But then, he decides he's going to start a company called the Sanitas Food Company. It's very sanitary. And he's going to like different foods. Now, the very famous cornflakes that Kellogg's is probably best known for nowadays. A little bit of controversy about how everybody came up with that. Legend goes that somebody like made some dough and like left it out overnight, and then they're like, oh, I wonder, like, this all dried out. I wonder what it would taste like if we did this, that, and the other. But there's some kind of like, because I don't know if you guys know, but like fucking Dr. John Kellogg and his brother Will, there was a really lifelong rivalry between the two of them. And there was like a lot of legal wrangling about the name Kellogg, which Will actually got the eventual rights to. But yeah, it was a whole thing, which, you know, hopefully I'll get into if we don't fucking lose the fucking stream again. So Ella, who's the wife, and Will, they both have their own stories about how this fucking cornflake situation came about. So they had this dough. Now Ella says, she said that, oh, we should take this dough and like roll it out, right? And then into sheets. And then, you know, she says, oh, I said to do that. And then Dr. John said, okay, well, we'll have these like rollers and we'll make them. And that's, you know, we'll make them for the process for that. And like other things, like John said later, oh, I of cornflakes. And there was that. And then Will said, no, it was my idea. Somebody said it was an accident. They left the dough out overnight and it dried out. And it's like they did this thing. It was like, you know, like I said, it was an accident. But so nobody knows exactly where it came from. But the gist of it was that they got to the point where this dough was like rolled out into thin sheets. They kind of left it to dry out and then they baked it and it made these like fantastic little flakes, which they thought, hey, we can sell that to some bitches because that's kind of good, you know. Although I will say, Will actually had, the brother, he actually had the idea, we should add some sugar to that shit. And Dr. John Kellogg said, absolutely not, because sugar might excite somebody's sexual tension.
Yeah,
somewhere.
you might fuck a motherfucker if you put some sugar on.
I mean, you know, you might stick your dick in anything.
You might jerk it.
Or you might touch yourself. And we can't have that. We can't have that. So
no, we're not going to talk about carbs. No, carbs and calories has nothing to do with it. It's just you might get some of that sugar, you might jerk it. It's just hilarious.
I mean, you never know what might happen.
The thinking of the time.
They didn't know.
The thinking of the time.
I mean, I'm willing to give them some of the benefit of the doubt because they didn't know. But, you know. But yeah, so regardless of whoever came up with the original plan, yeah, they did actually come up with the cornflake concept, and they actually did patent it in 1895, I believe, and it was, the patent was issued in 1896, in spring of 1896, to John Harvey Kellogg alone. So that's why there was some controversy, because he just patented it, and his wife and his brother were like, well, we kind of came up with that shit too. Why isn't our name on that shit? But, you know, that was a whole thing. I mean, the thing about it is that Dr. John Kellogg and his brother Will, they kind of had a lifelong rivalry, like I said, and it wasn't really resolved even after Dr. Kellogg died, even though, yeah, there was a whole thing having to do with that. Now, initially, they marketed these flaked cereal things as granos, like I said. They also, the patent that they got actually extended to, but also like other kinds of grains too. So he could like with other kinds of things, like other kinds of cereals, and they did. So the first year that they put these production, they actually sold like a shit ton of the stuff, right? Under the name Granos, or however the fuck you pronounce it. So, but they kind of kept trying to innovate. So they had some corn, they had some rice, wheat. They were trying to do like other things with it to see what was going on. Now, 1898, they released a batch of something called Sanitas, which nowadays nobody would call it that because that sounds like a maxi pad. But
yeah, it does.
But back then, I'm sure that sounded like really healthy and everything. But yeah, like I said, nowadays that sounds like a maxi pad. But back then, Sanitas toasted cornflakes. That's what they called it. And then they were pretty successful with that. Then they did another version of it in 1902, which was like, had a longer shelf life. And so then they had the Flakes, and then they also had like biscuits, which I'm guessing were kind of like Weetabix. You know what I mean? We have Weetabix here in the U.S., but I kind of feel like it's more of a thing in Europe. Yeah. It's kind of, they're like those big biscuits, and you like put it in like kind of hot milk and like break it up. You know what I mean? It's kind of like Frosted Mini Wheats, but without the frost. It's like that. So Will Kellogg, who was the brother, so he kind of did his own thing as well. And again, I said he was kind of like, hey, let's put sugar on the shit, because that would probably make it taste better. He knew what was up. Dr. John, again, absolutely not. Would not add sugar to the stuff because that wasn't allowed. So, you know, like I said, that might make somebody masturbate somewhere. So we can't have that. So at that point, 1906, Will's like, fuck this shit. He starts his own company, which is called the Battle Creek Toasted Cornflake Company. And him starting his own company, that was kind of like the start. I mean, they were kind of like rivals before, but now for real. Now they have like two rival companies that are making essentially the same thing. But he's like, mine have sugar, so I win. So there was that. Yeah. And it should be noted that it was Will's, you know, the brother, the one that wanted to add sugar. It was his company because they sued later. Like, Dr. John sued Will. It's like, well, you can't call it Kellogg because that's my name too. And then, like, they sued each other. And then Will was like, yeah, fuck you, I'm adding sugar. And then the court eventually decided that Will had the rights to the Kellogg name. So the cornflakes that you have nowadays that have sugar on them, that's because Will eventually won the lawsuit, not Dr. John. With the sugar as opposed to the non-sugar guy. Just saying. Now, there were some other competitors going on as well. Like I said, they were the first people to do the whole, like, fucking cornflake thing. They were the inventors. But another guy named C.W. Post, who you might recognize,
of course.
He was actually, had gone to the Battle Creek Sanitarium in 1891.
If you guys know what Post is, we have a cereal brand here. I don't know if it still exists. It was called C.W. Post.
It does, yeah.
Post cereal. Mm-hmm. They had a lot of good shit. I think they had Raisin Bran. Wasn't that their name?
Yeah, I think Post was.
Post Raisin
yeah, I think Raisin Bran was Post.
And then she was great.
They're still around.
She was great. Yeah.
Still around, as far as I know.
Yeah.
So he was a Christian Scientist. So who knew that the history of cereal was so?
Yeah.
A
lot of shit was religious.
I mean, back in those days.
A lot of it was.
So C.W. Post had been at the sanitarium. He was a Christian Scientist who, I don't know if you guys know, but Christian Scientists are kind of like, they're pretty cool as sects go, but they're very against medical science. They kind of feel like, they're more like, look, if God doesn't heal us, then fuck it, we'll die. That's a simplification, but that's kind of...
still like that? Here's the thing.
I knew a couple Christian Scientists in the 90s, so I don't know if that's like still the way it is, but I kind of feel like, well, if we're going to get this disease and die, then that's God's will. I don't know if they go as far as like, because you know how Jehovah's Witnesses won't even get like blood transfusions and stuff?
Yeah.
I thought Christian Scientists were kind of like adjacent to that, but I don't know if there's like there might be different like kind of...
Where that shit came
schools of thought on that.
Where that shit came from wasn't as crazy as you think, because...
Well, it never is.
Back in the day when they started that shit, in the fucking 17 and the 1800s, they didn't want to deal with the medical fucking establishment. Made a lot of sense back then, because fucking medicine was a bunch of quackery. And if you stayed away from it, probably odds are that you were probably better off back then.
I mean, in the aggregate, probably, just because they didn't really know what they were doing.
Yeah.
Modern era, you're probably better going to a doctor for most things.
Right.
Back then, probably not, because they didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
Right, they were making shit up. So they were like, well, just put it in God's hands and you'll probably be all right. Better than putting it in that guy's hands. And they were probably right half the time.
Well, if God lets you die, then that's just shit happens.
You're sick.
Sorry.
You're sick. You'll either get better or you won't. If you go to that dude, he'll probably kill you. Probably better off if you just sit here. And there was probably something to that back in the 17 and the 1800s. But by
that's
the time
saying something about medical care back then. It's like probably better just to not get it.
by the time the 30s had rolled around, you're better off going to the doctor.
Yeah. That's a long time ago that happened. But yeah. So where was I?
I mean, 1930s for you youngsters. By the time the 1930s rolled around, you were better off going to the doctor.
Sarah says, did we talk about the brother already? Yeah, we're talking about that now.
Yeah.
We're talking about Will, how he wanted to like add sugar to stuff, and Dr. John said no. But then Will sued, or like they sued each other, essentially, is what happened. And Will got the rights to the name. So then we were talking about C.W. Post. So he was actually